when he ordered security to drag me out of the VIP seat. Get her out now. The words landed clean and sharp like a command he had practiced before. Looked up at him. Lucas Hale, early 30s, tailored suit, confidence borrowed from a last name he never earned. His jaw tightened when I didn't move. This section is for leadership families, he added, already turning slightly so the people nearby could hear. Not for someone like her. Chairs shifted. A few laughs broke loose. Uncertain at first, then louder. Phones came up fast. No one asked who I was. No one asked why my place card was printed on platinum stock. Instead of paper, 2 guards stepped in. One reached for the back of my chair. I'm Meredith Crowell, I said calmly, not raising my voice, not standing. You should check. Lucas cut the space between us with a raised hand. Don't, he snapped, eyes flicking toward the cameras. This isn't a conversation. The chair scraped back hard enough to sting. My legs, hands closed around my arms. Didn't resist. I didn't plead. Struggling would have turned this into what he wanted, proof. As they pulled me up, Lucas leaned closer, his voice dropping just enough to sound controlled. You don't belong at the front unless someone puts you there. Met his gaze. He expected anger. He expected embarrassment. What he saw instead made him frown. The guards started walking. Laughter followed. Someone whispered my name wrong. Someone else didn't bother trying. I kept my head level as they steered me toward the aisle. Dignity, I had learned, wasn't something you announced. It was something you refused to give away. Even when people treated it like entertainment. Behind me, Lucas spoke. Again, louder this time. Let's keep the night moving. And just like that, the room agreed. The story you are about to hear is a fictional work created by the writing team at Revenge Ada. While inspired by real emotions and real power dynamics, all characters and events are imagined to explore one truth. Humiliation only works when the wrong people believe they are untouchable. The guards didn't look at me as we reached the corridor. One loosened his grip. Uncertain now, waiting for instruction. That didn't come. My phone vibrated once. In my hand. I didn't check it. Inside the ballroom, the music continued. Without missing a beat, they stopped. Just outside the ballroom doors. Not gently, not roughly either. Just far enough to be out of view, like moving an object after it had served its purpose. One of the guards cleared his throat. You can wait here. For how long? My voice stayed even. He didn't answer. His eyes fixed on the carpet instead. Another guard shifted his stance, adjusting the earpiece that hadn't made a sound since we left the room. Watched the small movements, the way both of them kept glancing toward the doors, waiting for someone else to take responsibility. I asked a simple question, I said. For how long? A pause. Then, until we're told otherwise. No name, no request for identification, no attempt to confirm why I had been sitting where I was. The process had already decided I didn't matter. Footsteps approached. Lucas Hale filled the space like he owned the air. I told you this would be quick, he said, smiling the way people do when they think control looks like kindness. No need to make it awkward. I looked past him toward the guards. Has anyone here been instructed to verify who I am? Lucas laughed once, sharp. That won't be necessary. It usually is, I replied. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. Without lowering his confidence. You embarrassed yourself by sitting where you didn't belong. I'm fixing it. By dragging me out in front of cameras, by protecting the company. His gaze flicked to the hallway, then back to me. That's my job. One of the guards shifted again. uncomfortable now, still silent, nodded slowly, not at Lucas at the moment. This wasn't about me wearing the wrong badge or misunderstanding an invitation. This was a system built to obey certainty, not truth. A system where confidence outranked verification and proximity to power replaced accountability. Lucas straightened, satisfied. Someone will escort you out. Shortly, he turned back toward the ballroom, already done with me as he disappeared through the doors. I finally looked at the guards again. You might want to remember, I said quietly, that following orders doesn't erase responsibility. Neither of them met my eyes. My phone vibrated once more in my hand. I still didn't check it. Lucas's voice carried through the doorway before I saw him again. Crisis contained, he announced, light and confident. Let's move on. A few people laughed, relieved to be told what to think. Someone clapped once, then stopped when no one joined in. That was unnecessary. A woman near the entrance muttered, glancing toward me and then away. Lucas caught it. He always did. What's unnecessary? He replied smoothly. Is letting the wrong person confuse the room. A man in a staff badge hesitated. Near the door, hands clasped too tightly. We usually verify seating issues before Lucas cut him off with a look, not sharp, dismissive. I verified. The staffer swallowed and stepped back. I'm responsible for brand perception. Lucas continued, addressing no one in particular and everyone at once. Tonight is about leadership. Optics matter. Dragging someone out on camera is an optic. Another voice offered. Quieter. Lucas smiled. The kind that didn't reach his eyes. So is letting a disruption linger. I chose the cleaner option from the corridor. I listened. Not because I needed to hear him justify it, but because this was the moment people revealed who they were when power spoke. Confidently enough, a guest leaned in toward him. You handled it fast. That's what leadership looks like, Lucas replied. You don't hesitate. Inside, something settled into place. Not anger. Recognition. The junior staffer shifted. Again, clearly torn. Should we at least log the incident? Lucas's patience thinned. If you want to log something, log that. The night stayed on schedule. Silence followed. Compliance dressed up as professionalism. He glanced once toward the corridor, caught my outline in the shadows, then turned his back without another word. The message was clear. I had been processed, categorized, and discarded. I stayed where I was, hands relaxed at my sides, listening as the room recalibrated itself around his certainty. Whatever he thought he had solved, he hadn't looked closely enough at the problem. Why would security suddenly stop touching her? The change came without warning. One moment, a guard stood close enough that I could feel his breath when he shifted. The next, both of them stepped back at the same time, hands dropping as if they had been burned. Hold, one of them murmured, pressing a finger to his earpiece. Static crackled. A voice broke through, thin and uneven. Repeat the name. The guard glanced at me, then away. Meredith. Krah. Silence followed. Not the awkward kind, something sharper, intentional. Stand by. The voice returned. Clearer. So now. Do not proceed. The guard's posture changed. Shoulders squared, eyes forward. Copy? I hadn't moved. I hadn't spoken. But the air around me had shifted, and everyone felt it. A woman in a dark suit appeared at the end of the corridor, brisk and controlled. She stopped short when she saw me, then turned toward the guards who authorized removal. The guard answered carefully. Mr. Hale. Her jaw tightened. On whose authority? No response. She tapped her earpiece once. Control room. Confirm. Status. A pause. Then quietly she's flagged. The word landed heavier than it should have. Flagged how one guard asked. Protected. The voice replied, do not announce. Do not escalate. The woman in the suit exhaled through her nose. Understood. She looked at me. Then not with apology, not with curiosity, but with calculation. Please remain here, she said. There's been a miscommunication. I nodded, not because I accepted the explanation, but because this was no longer about courtesy. From inside the ballroom, Lucas's voice carried faintly, confident, unbothered, still performing control. The woman leaned closer to the guards. No one touches her. No one speaks her name. One of them swallowed. Why? Because she replied, lowering her voice. This list exists so mistakes don't become disasters. Her radio crackled again. Single instruction came through. Precise and final. Prepare to release. No announcement followed. No correction. Just the quiet understanding that something had been set in motion and it wasn't meant for the room to hear yet. What makes an entire room go silent at once? The music cut off in the middle of a note, sharp enough to sting. Conversations collapsed into each other. Glasses stopped mid-air. The guards released my arms at the same time. Not gently, not apologetically, just suddenly, like the instruction had overridden muscle memory. Stay here, one of them muttered, already stepping back. I straightened my jacket and took a breath that felt heavier than it should have. Inside the ballroom, confusion rippled outward, heads turned. Someone laughed, then stopped when no one followed. Lucas noticed immediately. What just happened? His voice carried. Now. Why is the music off? No answer. He scanned the room, caught sight of me, standing unrestrained near the aisle, and frowned. Why is she still here? The guards didn't move. Lucas took a step forward. I gave a clear instruction. The woman in the dark suit met his gaze for the first time. We're waiting for what? His tone sharpened. This is my event. She didn't flinch. It's not. A few guests shifted uncomfortably. Phones hovered, uncertain now, as if the moment had lost its cue. Lucas laughed, short and incredulous. You can't be serious. Still, no one responded. He turned toward the stage, expecting backup, authority, anything that would restore the rhythm he was used to controlling. The host stood frozen near the microphone, one hand pressed to his earpiece, eyes fixed somewhere beyond. Lucas, what's going on? Lucas demanded. Again. Louder. Silence answered him. Not defiance, not confrontation, just absence. The guards repositioned themselves, not around me, but between Lucas and the aisle. Subtle, deliberate. I caught his expression shift. Confidence, searching for footing. Certainty, finding none. The woman in the suit glanced at her watch, then nodded once as if acknowledging something only she could hear. Proceed, she said quietly. No one announced it. No one explained, but the room felt it. The moment when authority moved without asking permission, I took one step forward, unescorted this time, as the doors behind me closed and the night recalibrated around a decision already made. What happens when the crowd realizes they were wrong? The host reached the microphone with a stiffness that hadn't been there minutes earlier. His hand hovered, then settled, as if waiting for permission that arrived a heartbeat late. Please lower your phones. The request didn't land. Immediately, a few screens stayed raised. Then the room adjusted. Devices dipped. Conversations thinned to nothing. The host cleared his throat. Ladies and gentlemen, there has been a correction. Lucas took a step toward the stage. Correction of what no one acknowledged him. The woman you just watched being removed from the front section. The host continued. Voice. Steady now is Meredith Crowell. A pause. Not dramatic. Necessary. Miss Crowell is the controlling shareholder of Hale Consolidated and chair of the governance committee. The room absorbed it in. Fragments, faces turned. Someone whispered my name correctly for the first time. A few guests looked down as if the floor might offer cover. Lucas laughed once too loudly. That's not the host raised a hand, stopping him. Without looking. This information has been verified by the control room and confirmed by the board. Cameras shifted, not toward the stage anymore, toward me. I didn't move. I didn't smile. I let the silence do the work it had been avoiding. Earlier, the woman in the dark suit stepped aside, clearing the aisle. The guards followed her lead, opening a path. That hadn't existed before. A man near the front swallowed hard. She was sitting right there. Yes, someone else murmured. She was Lucas's face drained of color. He glanced around, searching for support that had evaporated the moment my name was spoken aloud. The host lowered the microphone slightly. We will be pausing the program. No applause followed. No boos either, just the sound of a room recalibrating its understanding of who had been laughing. At whom? I walked forward, unhurried, aware of every camera now tracking a different story. What is the fastest way to lose power you never owned? Diana. Holt stood from her seat before anyone else could speak. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. This incident triggers the conduct clause. The room reacted in pieces. Chairs shifting, breath catching. A few sharp inhales that never turned into words. Lucas spun toward her. You can't be serious. Diana didn't look at him. Her attention stayed on the tablet in her hands. Public abuse of authority, reputational harm, failure to follow verification protocol. He laughed again. Brittle now. I was protecting the brand by humiliating the controlling shareholder on camera. She replied evenly. Yes, we all saw that. Richard Hale rose halfway from his chair, then stopped. Caught between instinct and calculation. Diana, this doesn't need to happen tonight. It already did. She tapped the screen once. Effective immediately, Lucas Hale is relieved of all executive authority. The words didn't echo. They didn't need to. They landed with the finality of a door locking. Lucas looked around, searching for someone to contradict her. Dad. Richard's mouth opened, closed. His silence was louder than anything he could have said. The head of security stepped forward, posture formal. Mr. Hale, please come with us. Lucas backed away a step. You can't do this in front of everyone. Diana finally met his eyes. You did something in front of everyone. The guards moved in, not touching him. Yet, waiting. This is a misunderstanding, Lucas insisted, voice rising. I want a formal review. You'll have one, Diana replied. Without access, without authority, and without an audience, they guided him toward the front entrance. Cameras followed, no longer entertained documenting. As he passed me, Lucas stopped. You planned this. I met his gaze. Steady. You demonstrated it. The doors opened. The night watched him leave the same way it had watched me earlier. Quiet, attentive, finally aware of what power looked like when it was taken away. What does a leader sacrifice to save a son? Richard Hale found me near the edge of the room, away from the cameras that were still recalibrating their purpose. He didn't greet me. He didn't apologize. He spoke the way executives do when they believe proximity might soften outcomes. Meredith, he began, lowering his voice. We can handle this internally. Diana. Holt stepped into the space before I answered. She didn't block him. She didn't have to. Internal handling ended. The moment the clause was triggered, Richard exhaled slow. Lucas made a mistake. He exercised authority he did not have. Diana replied, on record in public. Richard's jaw tightened. You're asking me to choose? No, Diana said. We're stating the consequences. He glanced at me then, searching for something sympathy. Perhaps I offered. Neither. If you attempt to reinstate him, Diana continued, the board opens a formal investigation into governance failures. That includes delegation of power, oversight lapses, and conflict of interest. Richard looked past us toward the front doors Lucas had been escorted through. His voice dropped. And if I don't, the investigation does not proceed, Diana said. The company stabilizes. Silence stretched. Not dramatic. Heavy. Richard straightened. His jacket. The movement automatic. Rehearsed over decades. I need time. You don't have it, Diana replied. The decision is now. He nodded once. Not agreement. Acceptance. Then he turned away, shoulders set, expression unreadable. He did not look back. Diana shifted her attention to me. Your directives lock access. I said, reassign partnerships, notify. Compliance. She tapped her tablet. Done. Around us, the room moved again, quietly, cautiously, like a system, relearning its boundaries. Richard remained where he was, eyes forward, saying nothing. His silence wasn't an act of wisdom. It was a choice that preserved a company by surrendering a son. His restraint still power when it ends. Everything. Diana waited beside me. Tablet angled so I could see the queue. Forming. Names, permissions, timestamps. No drama, just sequence. Begin, I said. Her finger moved once. Across the room, a compliance officer leaned into his headset. All executive credentials under Lucas Hale are now inactive. A second voice followed. Lower. Email access revoked. Calendar permissions removed. Approval pathways reassigned. I watched. The effects ripple outward without sound. A partner near the stage checked his phone, frowned, then slipped it back into his pocket. Another whispered to an aide, the whisper turning into a nod. No one looked toward the doors anymore. Brand partnerships? Diana asked. Transfer oversight to interim, I replied. Notify counterparts before the hour ends. She tapped again. Done. Junior associate approached. Careful? Respectful, Miss Crowell presses. Requesting a statement. Decline, I said. No statement tonight. He hesitated. They'll speculate. They already are. Diana answered without looking up. Message flashed on my screen. One attempt, then another. Lucas's name appeared, then disappeared as the system refreshed. The third attempt didn't register at all. Calls won't connect. The compliance officer confirmed. Quietly, forwarding is disabled. Good. Richard stood across the room, posture rigid, eyes fixed somewhere past the chandeliers. Someone murmured his name. He didn't turn. The company was still intact. The cost had already been paid. Diana angled the tablet toward me. One last time. Final step? I nodded. Confirm. She pressed her thumb to the screen. Irreversible. The word didn't echo. It settled. No speech followed. No confrontation. The night adjusted. Transactions rooted. Authority redistributed. People resumed movement. With new caution, as if the floor plan had changed beneath their feet. Slipped my phone into my pocket and took a step back from the center of attention. The power I exercised didn't announce itself. It concluded. The orchestra remained silent. No one asked it to continue. What remains after power exposes itself. The program resumed. Without announcement. No music to ease it back in. No laughter to pretend nothing had happened. People returned to their seats with measured movements. Conversations clipped short the moment they began. The gala continued, but whatever rhythm it once had was gone. Member of the partnership's team approached Diana with a tight expression. Several sponsors are asking who their new point of contact is. They already have one, Diana replied, eyes on her tablet. They just haven't checked yet. Across the room, a compliance officer spoke quietly into a headset, ticking through confirmations. Lucas? Hale removed from all internal systems. His delegated approvals reassigned. External access terminated. Another pause. Yes, immediately. Richard remained where I had last seen him. He nodded once at someone I didn't recognize, then turned away. The company would survive. That was the choice he had made. The cost of it was already set. No one came to speak to me, not to congratulate, not to explain. The absence felt intentional, respectful in its own way. I collected my coat myself. No escort this time. No cameras followed. As I moved toward the exit, the guards stepped aside without being asked. Their faces held something different now. Not fear, not guilt, understanding. Outside, the doors closed behind me with a final, ordinary sound. Inside, the night continued to unwind around a new structure of authority, one that would not include the certainty Lucas had relied on. I did not look back. The lesson did not come from watching a man fall. It came from watching how quickly systems reveal themselves when pressure is applied. Power does not belong to the loudest voice in the room or the person who speaks first. It belongs to those who understand when to act, when to wait, and when to make a decision that cannot be undone. That night did not end with applause or forgiveness.